Happy Harriet Tubman Day. We are here today with three Harriets. You're like, wait a minute, Harriets, what are you talking about? Three Harriets because we are three Black women who focus on helping Black women liberate from toxic jobs. So, again, this is Harriet Tubman Day, and we are here with three Harriets. I'm one of the Harriets to talk about ways that we help liberate Black women from toxic jobs. If you have not already seen, the doors are now open to the third annual Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women, which is May 1st through the 3rd. So get your ticket. And as I mentioned before, private consideration that you will not be seen on camera. So summit participants will not be seen on camera. Only the summit speakers will be on camera. So Marissa and I are the co-founders of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit. And then our dear friend Colette Elizabeth is here with us today because, again, as I said, she is part of the Harriet Trio. So I'm going to turn it over to my big sister Harriet for her to introduce herself. And then I'll go to our little sister Harriet for her to introduce herself.
Yay! So I'm Colette Elizabeth, and I'm the eldest of the three Harriets. And I'm so happy to be here with my little sisters, Dr. Kumani, and our baby sister, Marissa Price. And so we call ourselves the Harriets because we are all toxic job survivors, and we all have content that we provide on our channels, our various channels, and we talk about trying to help our other sisters become Harriets as well.
Yes.
My channel is Colette Elizabeth. I left a toxic job after being there almost 30 years in December 2021, and we just gonna talk about all the stuff. So I'm gonna turn it over to our baby sister, Marissa Price.
Yes, thank you so much. Yes, I'm excited to be here. I'm Marissa Price. I am a liberatory healer. I'm a digital business strategist doing a lot of things behind the scenes when it comes to online business. And yeah, I'm a co-founder of the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black Women. Really excited about this year. So tickets launch today, officially on Harriet Tubman Day, as we honor the legacy of the brilliant strategist, leader, trailblazer, who was Harriet Tubman, and all, her legacy that we walk in, really, with this work that we're doing to liberate Black women from toxic, harmful environments and challenge the notion, I think, that this is just what we should accept. And this is our lot in life, and really like building lives that bring us joy, light us up, and allow us to live our dreams, because we deserve to do that.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And just walking in Harriet's path, that she knew there was something bigger and better for us, just like we know there's something bigger and better for us as Black women. We have worked too hard. Our ancestors have gone through too much for us to be in any environment where we're being disrespected or harmed or being pushed out of a job environment. So we're also speaking to Black women who've been pushed out of the job market. We know that over 300,000 Black women, a lot more, have been pushed out of the job market. So the Job Liberation Virtual Summit is for all Black women, to help us look at different ways for us to replace our income and ways to replace our benefits, our health insurance, and our retirement. So just like Harriet Tubman, she didn't go to freedom, because we all toxic job survivors. So we've all left a toxic job. But we didn't just stop there. We didn't just say, okay, I'm free, that's it. We are reaching back to other Black women. So we are coming for you now, sis. Okay. So if you're watching this right now, you know that we are coming for you. Now, Colette, Marissa, and I, we might have a different style in how we try to help support you to liberation, but we are here to support you for liberation. Okay. So the next step is for you. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. I've been licensed for 20 years. As I said, I'm a toxic job survivor, but I love to say I'm a toxic job liberator for Black women. And let me just tell you how the virtual summit came to be. So, and let me just tell you how we all came connected, right? So back in the day when I was still at that toxic job, I started going onto Instagram and started talking about workplace bullying, because I thought it was just going to be a series about workplace bullying, like 2 weeks or something, right? But then what I noticed on Instagram is that Black women from around the world started contacting me. It was like, girl, you in my head. That's my experience too. Keep talking. And then I learned about Stephanie Perry. If you don't know Stephanie Perry, you need to follow her. So I started following Stephanie Perry on YouTube, and I found out she had this YouTube challenge to help Black women create their YouTube channels. So I started her class. And so when I was in her class, she asked, "Oh, so what do you want to focus on for your YouTube channel?" And I told her Black Women in Toxic Jobs. She said, "Girl, do that today. There's a need for that. Do that today." And so from there, I started going on YouTube and just telling about the experiences of Black women in toxic jobs. Some I would talk about my experiences, but more so the experience of Black women overall, because we have these parallel experiences. And as I said, the more I talked, I was like, wait a minute, this is not going to be a 2-week series. This is going to be an ongoing series. And I started interviewing more and more and more Black women around the world. And so that's how that came to be. And as I'm doing this, I'm watching other Black women in the YouTube space. I'm watching Colette. I'm watching Marissa. But this is before we even knew each other. So I'm watching their content. They're watching my content. And so I'm like, wait a minute, how do I connect to these people? Because we're talking about the same thing. Okay. And so I reached out to Colette, and then Colette and I connected. And we're both in California. So we actually just met each other in person. Was it last year? Last year. Yeah. So, but so now we're, friends. And then with Marissa used to watch my videos, and I remember seeing her comments a lot in the live, right? And I remember her saying she was a VA, a virtual assistant. And so when I needed a virtual assistant badly, I was like, wait a minute. I remember Marissa Price on YouTube as a virtual assistant. I'm gonna reach out to her. So we scheduled a call, and from there we've been working together. She's no longer my virtual assistant. Now we have moved to doing more projects together. But it is absolutely amazing that through this social media space that I have found two people who I feel like understand me so much, and I feel like we kind of like are kindred spirits. Like we speak and we understand each other, and like it's amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And we're all Aquariuses, right? Yeah, we're all
We are.
Aquariuses, which is something interesting too. So anyway, that's how we met. So the virtual summit came to be because Marissa and I were working together, and she said, I have an idea. Marissa, can you share how the virtual summit idea came to be?
Yeah, I had attended Exodus Summit, co-founded by Rashida Dow and Stephanie Perry, and it was life-changing. I was
Mhm.
actually able to move abroad for a period, right, and really like explore a different culture, go on my healing journey from this extremely toxic job experience that I had. And then just had an idea like, what if we did this, compiling our knowledge, like what we needed when we were like making our strategy out of a toxic work environment, knowing that unfortunately so many Black women experience this, and like compile it all into a summit and bring in other Black women thought leaders and really make this like a global event, which it has become at this point, so
Mhm.
that we can see that there's a pathway out. Because when
Mhm.
you're in it, it can feel like you're stuck and there's
Yeah.
no options. But
Mhm.
what if we like, yeah, compiled all of our knowledge, our understanding, our life experience, made it a safe, confidential, private space, which is so essential during these times,
Mhm.
to really help Black women make their strategy out to freedom, whatever that looks like for you, because that looks different for every single person.
Absolutely. So the feelings of feeling stuck, that's the one thing. And then the feeling of, I don't even know how to get out of here. I don't know how to get out of here. Or I want to get out of here, but I don't know how to replace my income. So we've taken all of that, and we have like a panel of outstanding Black women. So this is our third summit. So each year we've had 300 Black women in attendance as participants. So at the summit, you will learn about how to exit plan. So, replacing your income and your benefits, your health insurance, and your retirement. So, let's talk about what does liberation look like for you now? Okay, so we've talked on our channels extensively about being toxic job survivors. So, we're not going to go down that road again because we already know what it was like to be a toxic job survivor. We're not going to go there again. Okay, but what are some of the ways that your life looks like now that you've left, that you pivoted from a toxic job? So, I'll start with you, Colette.
On mute. I, for me, after leaving the toxic job initially, it was hard. It was scary because it was something new.
Mhm.
Of course, I was reared by a strong Black woman who reared me to be able to take care of myself, to
Mm-hmm.
know where my money's coming from, and all of the things. Fortunately for me, I had a great retirement plan. I still have a great retirement plan. So I had the confidence in knowing I would have some money coming in every month that
Mm-hmm.
would cover my basic bills. So that was fine. But once I left the toxic job, the feeling for me was just relief.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like I did not know, I didn't realize how stressed I was. I knew intellectually and I knew my body felt certain way, but it was
Mm-hmm.
not until I actually left. And I actually started feeling this feeling the relief prior to me actually leaving the job. I started feeling the relief the minute I submitted my retirement paperwork. When
Mm-hmm.
I hit the button, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, I also, like my little sister Marissa, attended the Exodus Summit with 2021, like she said, co-founded by Rashida Dow and Stephanie Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And I also attended some of their courses afterwards, their individual courses, and specifically Rashida's course uh, gave me the confidence and the encouragement to leave,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to just leave. I mean, ultimately, my kids pushed me,
Mm-hmm.
right,
Mm-hmm.
to do it, but having that support and knowing that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah.
So how I feel now and the feelings and all of the things, there's so many words, but I would say the first thing is just relief, just
Yeah.
being able to actually, I remember just doing like this, just breathing, because it
Mm-hmm.
was like I was holding my breath,
Mm-hmm.
walking on eggshells every
Mm-hmm.
single day.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Right. Right. And I'm glad that you mentioned Colette about first of all, Exodus Summit. Can you all tell people what Exodus Summit is first?
Yeah, it helps Black women prepare a move abroad, travel abroad, or a career break. And this happens every year, usually in October.
Mm-hmm.
But again, bringing together Black women thought leaders to share information, help us strategize. If travel or moving abroad or taking a career break is something that you want to do, it has been life changing for so many of us and has brought so many of us together. Right.
Yes,
Hmm.
absolutely, absolutely. In fact, I think that's how I met Marissa for the first time in person.
Yep.
Was we had a celebration for Stephanie Perry and Rashida in LA, and so a number of us came from around the Southern California area and elsewhere to come together and celebrate them. So Exodus Summit provides community, it provides support in terms of maybe moving abroad, and so okay. So when we think about Colette, when you talked about community, and I think that's so important because when you're making a major life change, like leaving a job, that is extremely scary. And I do not want to discount that at all. Okay. It is a very scary thought of leaving a job, even though you might have retirement, you might have whatever. It's still scary. And sometimes you need to be in community with other Black women to reassure you, to provide you the information. And the benefit of the summit, the virtual summit, is it's like a roadmap to help you get out. These are from Black women who've already left toxic jobs. So you're not trying to Google, trying to figure something out or YouTube, like, oh, I can piecemeal something together. No, you're learning from Black women who've actually gone through it and they're actually helping you. So the power of community, the healing community is so important. So what about for you, Marissa? What was it like, or what has it been like for you now that you're out of the toxic job?
Yeah, it's taken me on a winding journey of healing so many wounds. Something we've both talked about is childhood trauma, how that will
Mhm,
pop up, right? When you find
mhm,
yourself in a toxic work environment. So I've been on my own, really like discovery journey, deep healing journey, spending a lot of time in nature, trying
mhm,
to really like heal my nervous system from that
mhm,
experience, which I've had the opportunity to do, right? Really working with Black women who are my primary clients now. Being a digital business assistant behind the scenes and also as a coach, a life
mhm,
coach, helping other Black women who are in toxic work environments now, having choices about what I do during the day and not having to be around people who are really like tyrants, right? What I experienced in my previous work environment. Again, going from pet to threat, which I'm so excited that we have a panel discussion at the summit with the 3 Black women researchers, Dr. Rosemary Phelps, Dr. Juanita Johnson-Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, who will be speaking about what does that mean, going from pet to threat, and why do so many of us experience this in work environments? So I'm so excited about that. And just understanding that I wasn't the problem. I think
Yeah.
I've really been able to do that over the past 3 years, and just really like lean into my self-worth after that experience. You really do have to rebuild yourself, kind of, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, after that really deep trauma. And so I love that a lot of us are speaking about how we did it, because it can feel impossible. Again, when
Mm-hmm.
you're in the environment, to leave, and then what happens after that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of processing that you have to do, a lot of returning to your true self, your authentic self that maybe wasn't safe in that environment. And so we're
Mm-hmm.
going to be providing resources and honest conversations about how you actually do that at the summit.
Yes, yes, yes. And let me just say, I'm so proud that we were able to get the 3 Black women researchers for Pet to
Mm-hmm.
Threat to
Mm-hmm.
come to our summit. Like, that
Yes.
is monumental. And to be
It
able
is.
to hear their words of wisdom and just to give honor to them for their research. Because when I was going
Yes.
to Pet to Threat at that job, I didn't know what Pet to Threat was. I
No.
experienced it, but I didn't know what it was. And
Yep.
so we're able to give voice to what it is. And so what I found, and probably what you found too, is when we talk about Pet to Threat, we explain what it is, and I'll explain what it is overall. When we explain what it is, so many Black women are like, oh my God,
That's
that's my
what it is.
experience.
Yep.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
it's healing to be able to identify and name your experience
It
and to
is.
recognize that you're not alone. So for those of you who are not familiar with Pet to Threat, Pet to Threat was created by 3 Black women researchers, Dr. Juanita Johnson-Bailey, Dr. Keisha Thomas, Dr. Rosemary Phelps. So Pet to Threat deals with when someone comes into the workplace or she's sought out, in the workplace because of her outstanding work abilities, and she is doing it. Like, she is like knocking out the park. She is doing it, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
she is seen as the pet because she's making people look good. Well,
Yes.
right? But
Mm-hmm.
then this person or you might start outshining people in the work environment. And there's a shift in terms of how you're seen and treated as if a threat. So you're like pushed out in different ways, made very uncomfortable in the work environment. So again, I experienced that. So many Black women have experienced that. And so I'm so glad that at the summit, we're able to give flowers to the 3 Black women
Yes.
who gave the words to our experience.
Ooh.
So that they will be on Friday, right? Kicking it
Mm-hmm.
off on a
Yes.
Friday for the
Mm-hmm.
summit.
Yeah.
So just amazing, amazing. So when I think about leaving a toxic job, right? And even though we might recognize, it's time for me to go, it's painful, it's all these other things, there's some mindset issues that I think we need to kind of talk about first, because some Black women who might be watching this might be thinking, yes, I can't stand this job, but the job market's so unstable. I've seen all these Black women get laid off. I just
Mm-hmm.
need to stay. I just need to stay. Like, this is not the time to make any moves because of what's going on, right? So that's a mindset issue, right? So I'm just curious about what were some of the mindset issues that you had to kind of work through as you were leaving? And what about for Black women right now, given what's happened with Black women being pushed out the workforce? What types of mindset issues do you think that they are dealing with at this time too?
I think for me, it was detaching my identity from my job, right?
Hmm.
Because a lot of us are in roles that require a lot of us. I was in a DEI type of role, right? And so I was
Mhm,
contributing both like my knowledge, my academic
mhm,
knowledge, plus my lived experience, which was
mhm,
taking a huge toll on me. And so to
mhm.
be able to like separate, this is what I do for income, and but this is who I am outside of this job, which
Right.
is really radical as Black women, right? Because the society tells us that they're one and the same. And so
Mhm,
to be able to like gradually over time being in community has been essential for me in that journey, to be able to see myself outside of what I do and know that I'm inherently worthy, I think was one of the huge mindset shifts that had to take place.
mhm,
Also unlearning that you have to suffer for
mhm,
success, right?
mhm,
That's huge, right? I believe now that my life should be joyful, should be full. I should have time to be in nature, right? All these things that really light me up. But when I was in that job, I didn't have any of those things, right? I didn't know until I got into community with other Black women that I'm like, oh, this is possible for my
Mhm.
life. I
Mhm.
had no idea. I thought it was just me like working, suffering, contributing
Mhm.
all my energy, all my time into this job.
Mhm.
Again, where I was going from pet to threat, right? And it's a huge, like, it's a huge traumatic experience when you
Yeah.
contribute so much of yourself and you're being shamed for it, right? You're
Yeah.
being pushed out, and having to realize that your worth exists outside of this work environment, even if people can't see it.
Mhm.
Getting around other people who are able to pour into you, I think, is so important.
True.
Also, unlearning like the strong Black woman narrative, right? And
Mhm.
realizing that we can ask for help. We can get into spaces that support us, that uplift
Mhm.
us, and we
Mhm.
don't have to do this journey alone, because trying
Mhm.
to cobble together a plan, a strategy, while you're experiencing trauma without the support can be really difficult, if not impossible. So that's the
True.
purpose of the summit.
True. 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 What about you, Colette? What were some of the mindset issues that you had to kind of let go of or address for you to get ready to say, I'm out?
I think for me, because I'm a natural fighter, I don't let people uh, dictate to me who I am, what I am. So for me, the biggest part was they're not going to run me out of my position. And I had been in upper management for many
Mhm.
years,
Mhm.
and because I saw so much bad management and I wanted to be a good manager, I actually
Mhm.
went back to school in my 40s to secure my and earn my master's in
Mhm.
leadership and organizational studies. That's why I went back to school.
Mhm.
And then I went back to also pursue my PhD in leadership because
Mhm.
I wanted to be a better leader. I
Mhm.
wanted to go beyond being a manager and be a better leader. I wanted to be a good leader.
Mhm.
And I thought by understanding different things that it would help me to serve as an example to not only the managers that reported to me, but
Mhm.
my peers that I worked with, the peers that I work and my managers and leaders that I work for or reported
Mhm.
to be an example of, hey, you know, we can do better and we need to do better. And this is how we can do it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
um so that was number one, was they're
Mhm.
not going to run me out of there.
Mhm. Mhm.
The other thing was, and let me just share this too. Um, in addition to not feeling like not wanting people to tell me what I'm going to do with my life,
Mhm.
I had also felt like I had invested so much in this. It's kind of like those relationships we've all been in before where, we know this person is not helping us. They're harmful to us. But we've been in it. It's familiar. So it's like that old saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that, and then the other thing was getting over the mindset, because in our community, we have been taught to, make sure that we are financially stable. So it's like, okay, you're going to leave that good government job with those good
Mhm.
government benefits, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so that was another thing. And then the last thing, and it's more, but the last thing I'll say is the other mindset I had to get over was, as a manager of managers, some of whom were being harassed, and
Mhm.
some of their staff, my indirect reports, were also being harassed.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm just leaving them.
Sense
I
of
didn't want
abandonment.
to leave them.
Mhm.
I didn't want, I'm like, I didn't want to leave them. So I had all of those things going on, that I was considering because I really cared for the people.
Yeah.
I care for the people. And but the thing that helped me is, and I remember saying, going back to the devil is better than the devil you don't know. I remember Stephanie Perry saying in one of her videos, you're already living your worst case scenario.
That's true. That's true.
I
You're
never
living your worst
forgot.
nightmare right now.
I have to give her flowers because when she said that, something clicked.
Mhm.
You're
Mhm.
already living your worst case scenario or your
Mhm.
worst nightmare or whatever she said. I never
Mhm.
forgot that. So that helped me, in addition to some other things, to kind of do some shifting, because I had to do a lot of shifting.
Yeah.
You figure I had been on that job. I had my children on that job. My oldest
Mm,
daughter is 28. She'll be 29. I have my baby on that job. She's 25, you know? And
mhm,
so we talking about almost 30 years.
mm,
Started programs, first in the nation programs that
mhm,
people enjoy the benefits of today. So
mhm.
those mind shifts of having to leave this stuff behind, it was a lot.
Yeah, yeah, it is a lot. And it's interesting. I'm gonna quote you because something that you said is, sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to walk away, even though you've given so much time and so much energy and the devil and all of that kind of stuff. It's kind of prioritizing yourself. So I want you to talk a little bit more about that. And I also want you to talk a little bit more because Black women watching this right now might be in a similar position because I've heard this so much from Black women about I can't leave my team. I can't let my team down. I can't leave my supervisees. I can't, if they're teachers, I can't leave the kids. Like I've heard this sense of like, I have to sacrifice my life for everybody else. And, I'll be okay or I'll figure it out. But I have to keep doing this because I feel so guilty, the thought of leaving. So how did you get to the point of saying, I have to prioritize me? And the other part about sometimes the strongest thing you can do is to walk away. It's not a sign of weakness. And I think that's so important for us as Black women because we've been taught to fight. You know what I'm saying? Because so many people are trying to come at us that we have had to develop a sense of confidence and we've had to be strong. People will say, "Oh, you're so strong." I'm like, I ain't got no option. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have an option as a Black woman. So, can you speak a little bit more on those 2 points?
So I have to be honest with you, and this is where community comes into
Mhm,
play, family support, and all those things. So as it relates to me actually leaving and saying I have to prioritize myself, my
mhm,
children, my girls sat me down. God is so good because it was during the pandemic, everybody was at home. My
mhm,
kids were at school at UCLA.
mhm,
So campuses had shut down. And so the girls were at home. Okay. And everybody was so they were able to actually visibly see the impact that
mhm,
this job was having on me working remotely as a
mhm,
manager of managers.
mhm.
And my oldest had to call the ambulance, I think twice, because
Oh,
we thought I was getting, having a stroke or heart attack. We didn't
right.
know. Okay. And so I was sat down. My children sat me down and they told me, you have got to leave.
Mm,
And I was like, well, I think if I work another year, my retirement will be, my retirement would be higher, and it would have been substantially higher, right?
mhm,
Um, and my oldest daughter said, "Mommy, what good is more money in retirement if you're dead?"
mm, mm. Yeah,
That's
sobering.
what she told me. And when she said that,
Sobering. Yeah.
look, she said, "What's the point?" Right? And
Mhm.
so I thought, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh." And so I just and she stood over me, made me fill out the retirement stuff. The oldest daughter, she'll be coming out soon. You'll see. She's like, now push the button. And I just sat there. She says, Mommy, push the button to
Mhm,
hit submit.
mm,
You apply for a retirement online.
mhm,
And I was terrified. And she said, Mommy, push the button. I pushed the button. And when I pushed that button, I was like, that's that one.
yeah,
As far as sometimes the best decision you can do is to walk away. That's not mine either. I mean, it's those are my words, but that's
mhm,
how um I kind of remember I was in a really bad marriage.
mm,
My girl's father, and some things had happened, and I didn't want to leave because
mm,
I'm like, I don't want to be another statistic. I don't want to be another Black woman, single Black woman with children. I want my family intact. I want this. I want that. I feel like I'm giving up. I feel like I'm running out. And my pastor, who is a pastor that does not believe in divorce at all,
Mm.
He was my pastor at the time when I lived in LA. He said, there's a difference between running away and there's a difference between getting out.
Mm.
Sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself and your kids is to get out.
That's true. That's
And
true.
so I kind of twisted that around
Hmm.
for the job.
Yeah.
Sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the
And
strongest thing because it takes
absolutely.
courage.
And it's not a sign of weakness.
It's not
And
a
that's
sign
the
of
part that
weakness.
we have to reject as Black women. Like, if I leave this job, then I'm weak or they won, and that was me. That was me. That was my mentality that, I'm going to stick it out. I'm going to fight these people. They're not going to run me out of here. You know what I mean? And I took it to, um, that I was like the Harriet Tubman at my job of advocating for Black students, families, and staff. So I owned that I was Harriet Tubman at the job, and I was proud of that, right? And the more I thought about it, I was like, that's dysfunctional to think that I would need to go on the Underground Railroad at my job to advocate for Black people at my job. Like, there's something wrong with that. But I was just like, I'm going to fight these people, right? So I just kept on, no matter how much I was getting hurt, 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 hurt. And it wasn't until like my Black woman therapist, my family were like, girl, this is not gonna work. Like, you gotta go. But I think a lot of us get caught up in this, you're not gonna win. This is a good job. I'm not gonna leave this job. And I want to quote Stephanie Perry again, give her flowers. She loves getting her flowers. That a job is not a good job if it's harming you, number one. Number two, if you're staying at a job because of the so-called good benefits, the healthcare benefits, but the job is the reason why you're going to the doctor so much, you need to interrogate, is this really a good job? And so when we're having these conversations, Black women, as we're having these conversations, we are not telling any Black woman, girl, just up and leave that job, you're going to be okay. Just pray on it, you're going to be okay. We are not saying that. Never, ever, okay? The only time I would say something close to that might be if you are experiencing physical harm at your job and or psychologically, you're about to have a nervous breakdown. Something really bad is about to happen. But what we're here to talk about is exit planning. And that's what the summit is about, exit planning. So let's go back to the question about many Black women watching this have been pushed out the job market. And if they haven't been pushed out the job market, they know of a Black woman who has. We hear the news about all these layoffs of Black women. So I can imagine that some Black women are like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay and I'm going to just try to stick it out at this job. What are your thoughts about a Black woman who would say something like that and not even be open to exploring options for exit planning? What would you say about that, Marissa?
I think gathering information is always essential, right? So even if you're not ready to exit right now, just
Mhm.
having the information, the strategic guidance that will be shared, like you can have this with you for your entire lifetime, right?
Right.
And if you're anything like me, like I pass on something that I learned to probably like 10, 20 people at least, and to
Hmm.
think about the ripple effect that this could have, right, in our communities if we know
Hmm.
that there are different ways to generate income if we do lose our jobs. As you said, like we're being forced out of the workforce. Jobs that we've been taught were supposed to be stable, we're
Hmm.
seeing they're not, right? They're being pulled out from underneath us, having
Hmm.
invested, as I've heard from Black women, like decades of our experience, right? Of our skill set, of our expertise, and to just be forced out without notice, as so many of us are experiencing. What if you
Hmm.
had the information that gave you that level of security, right? And safety, right? In your body that, oh, I have the information to pivot if this does happen to me. I'm not
Hmm.
just out there relying on this one source of income. I now have
Right.
information from all of these Black women who have gone through maybe similar experiences that I
Hmm.
can utilize to make my plan and have a
Hmm.
strategy in place so that I don't have to have that level of fear and panic, right? If they do decide to just push me out of the workforce, as is happening to so many of us.
Right, exactly, exactly. And what about for you, Colette? What would you say to Black women or Black women who are watching or thinking, this job market is so crazy. I'm not leaving this job. I can't even think about it. I'm not going to think about extra planning right now because I'm going to stay at this job. What would you say about that?
I would say for us, the job market has never been a balanced playing field. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
60 years old and it's never been a balanced playing field.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't say, okay, just up and leave your job without a plan,
Mm-hmm.
and I agree with everything you said previously, unless, there is some harm there. I do think that this is really a good opportunity for you and us and people in a situation to assess your various skill sets. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean skill sets that you didn't even think would that are valuable, okay, that are transferable. Sometimes we have skill sets that we don't realize are extremely marketable,
Mm-hmm.
and prepare for your plan A, B, and C, because at this time, I don't care how long you've been on the job, there's no such thing as a guaranteed job. The
Mm-hmm.
Let me share something with you. I'm a Gen Xer, those born between 1946 and 1964.
Mm-hmm.
And our generation was a generation that witnessed mass layoffs for the first time. We saw it. So, my first day in the job market with my first real professional job, hundreds of IT people got laid off the day I started.
Ooh.
The very day I started, I
Mm.
saw them getting walked out,
Ooh.
and they would not even let the people go back to get their personal belongings. It had to
Mm.
be brought to them in boxes because they were the IT people. And at
Wow.
that time, IT people could go back and sabotage your computer system. So
Um,
they don't, that's common. Okay.
mhm.
The point I'm making is, so for me, I've always been preparing to leave my job, whether it's to get laid off, me leaving voluntarily, retiring, whatever, or involuntarily. I have always, that taught me to always prepare. And
Mm.
so what I would encourage Black women to do is, and that doesn't mean that you don't, because you could like your job,
Mhm.
but always be on the lookout, always be looking at ways of ensuring that you have a backup. That's why I
Mhm.
believe in intrapreneurship. That's
Mm.
when you look at your job and you see, hey, I know how to, for example, I'm a trainer.
Mhm.
Okay. What do trainers do? Okay. You develop curriculum. That's a whole field, right?
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
facilitate workshops. That's an entire field. Curriculum design, right?
Mhm.
Maybe you've been on projects. What is that? Project management.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
what project management methodologies are you using? I used Agile methodology. That's one of them that I use. That
Mhm.
is a marketable skill to this day. You hear
Mhm.
about Scrum Masters. You've
Mhm.
been using those techniques. Maybe you didn't know what they were, but
Mhm.
I would encourage Black women to study your duty statement that you have. Look at those duty statements. Look and see what's being look for in the market, whether that's working for another company or your own business.
Mhm.
See which one of those duties you're doing, you're proficient at, you're competent at, you're excelling at, and start keeping an inventory of your skill sets. I did this from here to here. And I used to tell people that when I did career coaching as a manager, hey, this is a transferable skill. This skill is valuable. This skill is a human resources skill. This skill is call center management. Does that make sense? So,
Mhm.
prepare yourself for leaving. Even and if you don't leave, that's good. But you got some things, and they used to, and my job knew that. They knew that I collected skills. In fact, they would say, oh, Colette collects skills. And I did.
Mm.
The other thing I'm going to say is while you're on that job, if they have some free training and some free workshops, take advantage of that stuff
Mhm.
now. Get the certificates if you want them, not because you're trying to prove anything to anybody, right? I'm not saying to do that to prove anything to anybody. If
Mhm.
it's free, and you think that you may benefit from it, maybe you want to be do some things on the side, your side hustle. I don't like the word side hustle, but whatever. Start building up your skill repertoire.
Exactly.
Because I know people, and I'll end with this, who have left where I worked, and they are now consulting that same place. So they commanding more money than they were making annually. I've had people ask me to consult, not that agency, but at the time I just was still healing. So I couldn't go back, but keep those things in mind and think outside of the box.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because it's people who worked for the federal government for years, and it's not just Black women that are losing jobs. We got
Mm-hmm.
white folks out there losing jobs too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if they losing jobs, we gonna be losing jobs, and we have
Right.
to act like that. It's not
Right.
different from any other time. Other
Right.
than we're able to report the numbers in real time now. We've
Yeah.
always been the last hired and the last hired and the first fired. That has always been a thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It has. And, and I said, come in the chat, be prepared at all times. And I completely agree, Colette, because, as our elders have said to us, stay ready, so you have to get ready. So if you have options, you know about your options, you know what you can do. Even if you like your job, it's important to know, well, if this goes south or if something happens, I know what I can do. The other thing that I appreciate you said in terms of not only transferable skills, but sometimes in the trainings you get at the job for free, right? Take advantage of that. But also when I think about like the connections I made at the job, not my coworkers necessarily, yes, them too, but also other people I've met through the job, like my professional connections, they were pivotal to me leaving in terms of getting other opportunities. So sometimes when we're at jobs, we have to be mindful of who are the professional connections that we're making, and can we follow up with those people and see if there's opportunities available as well. Now, there's a question about the Job Liberation Summit where people think if it's only for entrepreneurs, right? Marissa, can you respond to that question that I often get?
No, not at all. In fact, we have Charnay Horton, who is one of our speakers this year from the Resume Addict, who will be walking you through like how to update your resume if you are looking to apply to another job. We have Celeste, who will be speaking about how to find contract roles. And so there are all these different options that exist. And it's not just entrepreneurship. No, absolutely not. We have speakers talking about so many different topics. If entrepreneurship is not your thing, because I've been an entrepreneur for almost 3 years, and it is difficult, I'll be the first to say that. But if it's your passion, it's your dream, we do have resources for that as well. But to know that there are different areas for you to pivot to, right? Outside of maybe a toxic work environment that you're in, if you have recently been laid off, these options exist, and you don't have to feel stuck or that you're without like a next path to take. So
Absolutely.
a myriad of resources, a myriad of options from our speakers this year.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because I think sometimes people think about the summit, they're like, wait a minute, you tell me to lose my job. No, that's not what we're saying, right? And also just to clarify that the summit is not only for Black women who are in toxic jobs, but it's also for Black women who've been pushed out the workforce too. So there's a lot of different opportunities. And when we think about, we have options as Black women in terms of, like you said, Colette, transferable skills. But if we want to go into another job, or if we want to have our own business, like there's different options. It's not like you have to say, oh, I have to do just one thing. Now, something else I was thinking about is, sometimes the people around us can be influential in terms of decisions that we make about our job. Okay. So I've been very vocal about, my mom was not happy about the thought of me leaving my job, that good government job, because she had a good government job that she retired from. So, in what ways can the summit be like a source of community for Black women in some ways who might have people around them who are telling them, girl, you better not leave that job. You better just stay put. What are some of the ways that the summit can be a source of community in that way?
I think you can see people who have already been on the journey, right? To see that it's possible. I feel like a lot of our fears when we're in a toxic workplace, or if we've just been laid off, what's next, because we can't really see it, right? But when you hear from other Black women who have experienced it, who have navigated the fear, uncertainty, and they've built lives, right, that they really enjoy, you see that it's possible for you too.
Yeah.
I think that's really the value of community. Also, to be in a safe place where you
Mhm.
can be like, we won't have attendee cameras, so you don't have to worry about that, right? You can change your
Mhm.
name if you want to attend completely anonymously. To have
Mhm.
that level of like safety and protection, if you just want to soak in the information and kind of let it process, I think is really helpful. And just to be able to be honest, right? In that private, confidential space, even with
Mhm.
yourself, about
Yeah.
what you're experiencing, the fear that you might be navigating, and to be like reflected back to that it's not you, that you're not the
Mhm.
problem. We are, in fact, navigating systems of oppression, right? That are really
Absolutely.
like strengthening their grip during these times.
Mhm.
So just to see, yeah, that there's a path forward, and it's
Mhm.
not you in what you're
Right.
navigating.
Right, right. And that the fear that we're experiencing is normal. And as a community, we're walking together to support you as you're walking through the fear. I think that's helpful as well, right? So I wanted to say one thing before I ask you, Marissa, if you could show the landing page for the summit. But when I think about sometimes how fear can kind of take over for us as Black women, particularly during these times. And sometimes the fear is if I create an exit plan, that that's going to make something bad happen. And that's magical thinking. Like if you create an exit plan, that doesn't mean that you're going to lose your job or something bad is going to happen. It just means you're prepared and you know about the options. So we have to recognize when the fear is kind of taking over and it kind of shuts down any rational thought. We need to be very rational during these times because there's a lot of crazy chaos going on. So, Marissa, I'm going to turn it over to you in terms of with the summit, with sharing maybe the landing page to kind of go over what it looks like.
Hmm. Okay, can you see it on your end?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so this
Yes.
is the landing page for the summit. So as you'll see, we have, yeah, just information and resources if you're looking to understand what the summit is going to be about. Our focus this year, again, your privacy matters. Attendees will not be on camera. You'll also have the option to change your name if you want to attend completely anonymously. We have our ticket tiers here with the different details that you'll be able to scroll through. And then our speaker lineup. So, as we talked about, speakers from so many diverse areas, the three incredible Pet to Threat researchers here, which I'm so excited about this panel discussion. We have two panel discussions, two additional on Saturday and Sunday, May 2nd and May 3rd, on investment and retirement planning, which I'm excited about, and then healing forward after workplace trauma. Again, Celeste will be talking about finding contract work. Krishan will be talking about building an online business and multiple revenue streams. So many amazing speakers. Colette, yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about your session on FMLA and how to use your benefits?
Well, that's what I'll be talking about.
She don't want to give all the goodies away.
Yeah. So
You got to
I'll
get to
be
the summit
sharing.
and hear what she going
Yeah.
to share.
Yeah, I'll be sharing some information, some tools. Sometimes people don't realize that they have tools that are available to them right now. And so I'll be sharing about some of the tools that you may have available that are provided by your employer, or some that are mandated by the legislation, the state legislation, federal legislation that you may not be aware of, and you may be aware of it and may not understand how it can help you to while you're planning whatever you decide to do, whether it's to take a break, whether it's to leave, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I wanted to say is when Dr. Kamani was saying that some people were wondering, if I make an exit plan, is that putting something out there? Does that mean I'm going to lose my job?
Mhm.
The way I think about it, Dr. Kamani mentioned that she and I both live in California. And
Mhm.
everybody know in California, we have what? Earthquakes. And so most of us have a prep kit, where a go bag or whatever. That doesn't mean that an earthquake is going to happen. But what it means is, if the stuff starts shaking, literally, we have some things that we've already prepared for. So thinking of the summit as a preparatory, a way to
Mhm.
prepare for
Mhm.
something that may or may not happen, something that you may decide to do and you may not decide to do, but having that to go bag, if you will, and have the virtual summit as a party to go bad, because there are some tiers that you can purchase where you'll have access for about up to a year. So just understanding that. And the ladies have made it so amazing to where, and I'm probably talking about more what they're going to talk about, but they've made it to where you don't have to even be on camera. So,
Mhm.
we know we have people that are, checking us out, looking at our social media, our bosses and our so-called work friends. So you don't even have to worry about being seen on camera.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Colette.
Absolutely.
Marissa,
Thank
can you
you.
talk about the different tiers of tickets?
Yeah, so the standard pass will provide you with all the live sessions during the summit weekend, May 1st through the 3rd, as well as a week of replays. And it is early bird pricing, so I do want to mention that too, through March 31st. So these will be the lowest prices through March 31st. The premium pass will provide you with a year of replays, as well as our financial liberation lab bonus workshops, 3 of them. If you're interested in making your financial plan strategically, we have additional sessions on Zoom, led by Sandra Jones Thigpen of From Lack to Legacy on YouTube, and Samira from the Wealthy Black Women Summit, which I have attended for the past 2 years, and she provides extremely practical guidance on how to start investing, how to build your retirement plan. And then Dr. Roche will be leading that third bonus workshop as well around insurance and retirement planning. And then we have a tier called the Liberation Accountability Circle. If you're interested in working with Dr. Kamani and I over the next year, through 6 accountability calls on Zoom through March 2027, this is that tier. So if you need that additional accountability support, our personal guidance to help you walk through your strategy or your exit plan that you have, that is a tier for that. And that also includes 1 year of replays as well.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I wanted to add that when you come to the summit, also, you have an option to be a part of the WhatsApp community. And that WhatsApp community from last year, like they are popping, like they are like really sharing a lot of information. They're meeting up, they're supporting one another, they're sharing resources. So that's a community that you will have in terms of participants. Okay, so there's a lot of support available to you. So as we're winding down, ladies, if there's a Black woman watching right now and she's like, this all sounds really good, but I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence. What would you say to the Black woman who's on the fence, Colette? What would you say to her?
One of the things I would say is we've all been on the fence. Okay, we've all been on the fence, but at some point that fence gets a little wobbly, and we have to decide which way we want to fall.
Mm.
Which side of the fence do we want to either get on? I used to climb fences as I was a child. I had to decide: am I going to go over the fence? Am I going to stay on this side of the fence? And there's no judgment, because this is about your life. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I love, and Dr. Kamani, this is a quote that you always say, and I say it on my channel, is keep in mind that many of us have been harmed and we have not had the opportunity to heal.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Dr. Kamani always says is you can't heal where you're being harmed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So when you are making your decision about what side of the fence you want to be on, because you cannot stay on the fence, right?
True.
You maybe consider, the harm that I am receiving. How long am I going to be able to deal with this?
Mm.
Because rather we acknowledge the harm that is happening to us or not, the body takes count.
True.
I think Marissa did a video on that. The body takes score, keeps score,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's high cortisol levels,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's headaches. For me, it was high cortisol levels and heart pain, chest pains. Okay, so the body takes score,
Mm-hmm. And I
and
remember you said also about your hair falling out.
all of my hair fell out. I think I
Mm-hmm.
showed a picture of
Mm-hmm.
it was gone.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to belabor the point, but I just think that we got to start thinking about our lives. Just our lives. We can't live on the fence.
Mm,
We
so
can't
true.
live on the fence.
So true. So true. And being on the fence has the prickly things that come up, right? So you're always feeling a sense of just discomfort because you're always getting stuck, by the things that are happening at the job or just the apprehension or just the catastrophe about what could happen. I think a lot of us, feel like because you said you were terrified, to press that button to resign. I mean to retire. But I think a lot of us catastrophize that if I leave this job, then oh my God, I'm not going to be able to replace my income. And that's our mind. That's just the fear speaking. And so we have to be mindful that that's the fear because people around us might be saying that to us. And so we start thinking, oh my God, I'm going to end up homeless or all these bad things are going to happen to me. But the longer you stay there, it's not going to make it any easier for you. It's going to make it even harder for you. And so part of it is acknowledging the fear is going to be there. That's a normal emotion. Okay. But also knowing that avoiding making any moves, avoiding exit planning is really not going to help you either. So, how do you take those small steps coming to the summit? You take those small steps in community with other Black women who've already done it. So you're able to finally make that move. But yeah, staying on the fence is not going to help. You're going to continue to be harmed. What would you say, Marissa, to a Black woman who might be watching and she's on the fence about coming to the summit?
Yeah, I would say give yourself permission to imagine something different, right? A lot of these toxic work environments, they really attempt to steal our imaginations and
Mm,
make us feel like this is the only thing that we'll ever do, which is
true.
why like leaving can be so scary.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the power again of being in community, seeing other people's journeys, seeing that they did it, right? They navigated the fear, uncertainty to get to their desired life, whatever that looks like for them,
Mm-hmm.
and to give yourself permission to do the same, right? What could be possible outside of this environment that you're in right now that is draining the life out of you? If you're experiencing a layoff, right, what could be possible for you in the future,
Mm-hmm.
to rebuild your life after this deeply traumatic thing? Because a layoff is traumatic, right?
It is. Yeah.
And to see the way that we're being treated when it comes to being laid off, as if our labor doesn't count for anything,
Mm-hmm.
has been extremely like infuriating for me. And so just to be in a safe place to process that and know that you're not the problem, and we're providing a safe place that is confidential for you to be able to gain information and to make your strategy going forward, because strategy is essential during these times of uncertainty.
Yeah, yeah. And I really want to say too that, for Black women, even if you haven't been laid off, it's like witnessing what's happening to so many Black women is infuriating.
Hmm.
And for many of us, we take that energy and we rechannel it, like the three Harriets right here, right now.
Hmm.
So we rechannel that energy. We rechannel the energy of the indignities that we experience at the toxic job. We rechannel that to helping other Black women the indignities or the disrespect and the
Hmm.
disregard of Black women in the layoffs. So we've channeled that in terms of the summit. So there's so many ways that we can rechannel our energy, but the point is that we need to continue in terms of forward movement. So I'm going to read the community chat, and then ladies, I want you both to share about how people can follow you guys on YouTube, okay? So hello, ladies, and happy Harriet Tubman Day. Yes, good evening, ladies. I'm Harriet for real and trying to leave a toxic job now. Yes. And I want us all to remember something, right? Now, we call ourselves the Harriets, but Harriet is inside each of us. She is.
Hmm.
She is. And so we have to remember that we have to be true to ourselves and we have to be mindful of what does freedom look like for you? Because it looks different for everybody. What does freedom look like for you? And are you in environments that support the expression of your freedom? And are you around people that support the expression of your freedom? Because sometimes you might be around people who are not. And so sometimes you need to check your circle. Okay. Let's see. Hey, ladies, so excited for y'all to get into this chat. Always divine conversations. Please keep talking. Much love. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kamani. I learned about Pet the Threat from you. Thank you. I was so shocked. It was so accurate. Instant eye opener. Y'all are really onto something. Keep going. Thank you so much. I'm glad I caught this. Everybody, as you're watching this video, give it a thumbs up. So it suggested other Black women. And also, please share this video with at least 2 other Black women as well. Okay. Will be a wonderful summit. Yes, it will. Evening, ladies, what a phenomenal lineup of women for the summit and this discussion. Agreed. 3 incredible women who model what genuine collaboration looks like. What an amazing lineup of other Black women, inspiring and affirming. Thank you for your leadership. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for those of you who plan to come to the summit. And if you don't plan to come to the summit, still share this information with other Black women, because if you know a Black woman, unfortunately, she is probably either in a toxic job or she's been in a toxic job. She had a layoff. Something has happened in relation to her job. So
And
please share this information with her so she has access to resources.
Can I share real quick, if you want to sponsor another Black woman to attend, we do have that option too. So you can also reach out to us, support at liftingasweclimb.consulting.com if you'd like to sponsor another Black woman to attend. And I can provide you with those details.
Thank you, Marissa. Okay, Colette, can you please share with the wonderful people here and those watching the replay, how can they follow you, Harriet?
Oh, they can follow the older Sister Harriet on YouTube. Colette Elizabeth is my channel name, and the Colette Elizabeth is the Instagram handle. I want to say one thing. This is my youngest daughter coming in and out. I want to say one thing. We talked a lot about mindset, and this is not to make anybody feel bad about their situation, where they are if they decide to stay. But since it is Harriet Tubman Day, I do want to end with a quote that she's attributed it to saying.
Okay.
One of the things she said is, I freed 1,000 slaves. I could have freed 1,000 more if only they knew they were slaves. That's a mindset thing.
True.
So what she was saying is that I can give you the information. I can offer to show you the way. I can do all these things. But at the end of the day, each and every one of us has to make a mind shift. Okay. A change of to just be we have to think it. Okay. We have to understand that it begins here before we can even move. Because the truth of the matter is, you could leave a toxic job and still be harming yourself if you continue to engage and keep entangled and try to figure out what's going on with that toxic job. We're talking about being free and being liberated. Okay. So I didn't want to lecture, but I just thought that making sure that we understand that it's a mindset thing, because we know that we're going to be fine. I'm not saying get up and leave your job today, tomorrow, whatever, but thinking that you're not going to make it afterwards, that's a stop right there. One thing we do know is that things will not be different if we don't do things differently and we don't think differently first.
So true. So true. I loved how you quoted Harriet to close us out. I love it. I love it. And Marissa, what would you say in terms of how people can follow you on YouTube?
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Marissa Price Heals, providing a safe place for mostly highly sensitive Black women and femmes to heal from trauma, to rise and transcend what we're experiencing now. I have so many amazing guests that have been on my channel, so please check out my channel, Marissa Price Heals. Also Instagram, Marissa Price Heals, and LinkedIn, Marissa Price MSW.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay, everybody. So we are winding down. And yes, absolutely. The pathway to freedom starts with a mindset shift. Absolutely. And sometimes you need to be around other people who can see freedom in a way that you can't. When I was still at that toxic job, I couldn't see myself out the job, which is crazy, which is literally crazy when I think about this. But I could not envision what my life would look like. I could not envision how I was going to replace my income, even though I had a degree and a license and all other kind of stuff. And sometimes you need to be around other people who can see, I see freedom for you. I see liberation for you. This is what it looks like. Let me show you. Let me take you along there's a pathway out, and sometimes you need that support. So just
And
be
can I
aware of
say
that.
something too?
Yes.
What you share about like the prefrontal cortex being kind of
Oh,
offline when we're in traumatic environments and not allowing us to strategize and
yeah.
plan ahead, and like the
Mhm.
benefits of being in an environment where you feel safe to be able to do that. I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I just found like every time you mention that, I'm like, that makes so much sense.
So
Why
true.
we
So
can't
true.
envision or plan
Mhm.
in these environments sometimes.
Exactly, exactly. So, like when we are in a space where we perceive danger, and I would say right now, many of us perceive a lot of danger going on because there's constant nonsense going on right now. And so, when that happens, our brain will receive information about, okay, how do I interpret? What do I need to do to respond? So, our amygdala is what receives that information, and the amygdala is like, uh-oh, we're in danger. So when we're in danger, we perceive we're in danger, we get into this fight, flight, or freeze mode. So that's many of us right now. Fight, fight, or freeze. I gotta stay at this job. I gotta stay at this job, right?
Mhm.
Or fawn. I'm gonna try to do whatever I can to make everything's okay because I don't want anybody noticing me because I just gotta keep this job. Okay. Many of us are not just upping and leaving. Okay.
Mhm.
But when that happens, when your amygdala takes over, then you can't access your prefrontal cortex. Your
Mhm.
prefrontal cortex, that's where you plan, you judge, you organize. Okay. So the hope is that by you coming to the summit, that you're in a safe space with other Black women who are there to support you. You might not see their names and their faces, but you'll see the speakers. Okay. And you
Mhm.
know that you're in a community with other Black women. Like I said, we've had 300 Black women in attendance each year. So
Mhm.
as you come into this space, you know that you're in a safe community of Black women who are there for a common purpose, who are all trying to exit plan and or trying to pour into you. And so when you know that, then you can kind of relax and you know that you're safe. So you can kind of turn down that fight, flight, or freeze, right? You don't have that response in a safer environment. And then that way you're able to access your prefrontal cortex and you're able to plan, organize, and utilize that judgment for your exit planning. Okay, so thank you for reminding me about that, Marissa. That's why I
Mhm.
love these women. These women are so dope. They are so dope. And when I tell you, it's like, I'm telling you, brought them,
Mhm.
God brought us
Mhm.
all together because the way we think, the way we talk, the sense of I would say the moral compass that we have is so
Mhm.
aligned. It's unbelievable. Like sometimes Marissa would say something, or Colette would say something like, "Oh my God, I was just about to say that. I was literally just about to say that." And so it is so beautiful to be in sisterhood with you two, and just of course, I never would have wanted any of us to experience a toxic job. Okay,
Right.
never.
Mhm.
However, one of the things, bright spots out of that has been I have met incredible Black women like you all.
Yes.
So I'm so honored for that. And I'm so honored for the Black women I've met in this YouTube channel who come watch me or anything. So I just appreciate having a space for us as Black women to speak our truth
Yes.
unapologetically.
Mhm.
Unapologetically. The part I didn't add about YouTube was when I got onto YouTube and I started talking a little bit more about my story, it was really a way for me to refused to be silenced because when I was at that toxic job, they did so many things to humiliate me and to silence me. So my
Mhm.
reaction to that was, okay, I'm gonna get even louder on YouTube, right? And so this is my way of channeling that anger, but also channeling the refusal to be silenced. And I
Yes.
can speak in a way about toxic jobs that maybe a lot of Black women can't because they're still at the toxic job. So I'm liberated. I can say whatever I want to say. It's a total different experience. And so I appreciate, having the freedom to be able to speak our truth. And my hope is that if you're not able to speak your truth, that's your job, which I understand, that you find other spaces where you can. If that's therapy, if it's in a community of other friends or Black women or whoever that is. But my hope is that you find a space where you can speak your truth because that silencing that they do for you at that job is oppressive and it can cause you
Mhm.
to start beating up on yourself. It can cause a sense of self-loathing, like, dang, I can't believe those people talk to me like that. And I let them da da da, and I should have said da da da. you have to recognize that you assessed that that was not a safe space for you to do that. And so
Yes.
sometimes we do things and we, deal with disrespect because of our own survival. And so we have to be mindful as Black women that we don't beat ourselves up about that. Okay, let us not do that. And let us practice self-forgiveness because we have made the best decisions that we can given the situations that we're in. So let us practice self-forgiveness. Let us give us permission to seek out and access resources like the Job Liberation Virtual Summit for Black women. Again, registration is now open. Early bird pricing ends March 31st. So get your ticket. And we hope that you will see us there because, again, we won't see you because you won't be on camera. Okay. So, any last words that you all want to say, my Harriet?
Mm.
I wanted to say one of the most insidious things about going through a toxic job situation is the silencing
Mm,
and the sense of isolation.
mm,
One of the most liberating and rewarding things about being on this side of that experience is using my voice, using and sharing my experiences. And I talk to Dr. Kamani about this all the time. Sometimes I get triggered when I see other videos that talk about, some of the things I experienced. But one of the most rewarding things that I've experienced is other women that I have personally known who have called me and said, Colette, this is what's happening.
mm.
This is what's going on. And then for them to leave and say, I left. I left. Or when somebody calls me, or even in my comments that says, you know what? I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm planning and I'm leaving. And
Yeah,
it makes me feel, I feel like my stuff happen for a reason. I believe that scripture in the Bible that says all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord. And I
mm,
stand on that 10 toes down
yeah,
because while it was painful for me being able to reach back and say, baby, listen, yeah, this is going to be hard over here. But over here, now when you get to this part, you're gonna kind of want to wonder, did I make the wrong decision? Should I go
mm,
back?
mm,
But when you get right here, you're gonna be like, oh hell no, I ain't going back. You're gonna have some people calling you, so don't talk to these people. These other
mm.
people gonna call. So being able to map out real stuff,
Yes,
not that fake stuff. We talking about real stuff.
yes.
And that's what I love about Black women. We talk about the real, real, real. And, I can speak, I think, for the three of us.
Mhm.
We do it because we love Black women and we want you guys to win. We want us to
Absolutely,
win, you
absolutely.
know, and to get our flowers while we living. Okay, so
Right.
I'm going to give my flowers to you, Dr. Kamani. I want to give my flowers to you. Give you your flowers, Marissa. Because you guys are younger than me, but I learn from both of you all the time. So I just wanted to say thank you because you could be doing something else.
Mm.
You could have kept your stories to yourself.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
I
know,
was going to say that. I was going to say that, like, for all of us, we were not content just for us to get out. It's like,
No.
because I'm still mad, right? When I look back and I see other Black women experiencing the same thing, even like at the workplace that I left, Black women
Mm,
still experiencing, right, discrimination, disrespect. I'm like, it infuriates me. And so to
mhm,
be able to channel that, like you said, like alchemize that pain
mm.
into something that can help other people, is something that, yeah, is so important and that we can do. I feel like that is unique to us as Black women.
Marissa, I love what you said. You said alchemize the pain.
Hmm.
That is so true. And it's so interesting too. When I think about, I've reclaimed my Harriet Tubman from that job because I'm like, that was ridiculous what I was doing. But now I really feel like I am walking in Harriet's footsteps because I really am helping Black women to liberation, not finding a way to talk about Black issues on Underground Railroad. Like that is absolutely ridiculous. But I also want to say, hearing you all speak and it just I love how we're modeling sisterhood. Like we're talking about it, we're collaborating, but we're actually modeling what sisterhood looks like. And I know that each of us has talked about all skinfolk and kinfolks. I don't want to discount that either, right? Because that has come up often, because that can be an issue. But I don't want us as Black women to focus only on that, right? There are some experiences that happens, but I hope that the vast majority of the time that you spend with Black women, it's like this. It's like a sisterhood. That is my hope. The other thing I want to say is when you said, Colette, about uh like sometimes you're put in positions to do certain things, right? And I just think about the woman I was before compared to the woman I am now, the woman I was at that toxic job. I feel like those fools woke up a sleeping lion. You know what I'm saying? Like I was, even though I was miserable towards the end of that toxic job, miserable. I hated it, right? But I was still going. I was still, doing what I need to do, whatever. But they pushed me so far that I couldn't take it anymore, right? They woke me up. They woke me up. And so I went from a woman who could not stand social media. I mean, when I tell you people would send me LinkedIn invitations, I was like, what is this LinkedIn? Like, this is annoying. What are people doing? Like, I can stand it, right? No social media. So from that to being on LinkedIn, having like 20,000 followers, what? Like, who was this person, right? Being on YouTube, talking, and Colette teased me. I was like, she's like, you got 8 million videos, right? You always on the video, but openly talking about my experience. I'm such a private person. I don't feel like, what? Yes, I'm such a private person. But for me to be doing this is that I believe that God saw something in each of us and was like, girl, no, I'm gonna get you out of here. But you have a duty. You have a duty to reach back and lift as we climb. It's my best. You have a duty to do that. And so when I do that, it fires me up. Like I'm like, so I was tired earlier today. I'm telling you, I was tired, right? I want to take a nap today. I couldn't take a nap. But as soon as I get on and I talk about these things, or when I'm in community with my sisters, I light up and it brings me joy. So it's interesting that something that has been traumatic, this is an example of post traumatic growth. Okay. When you go through something traumatic, sometimes you learn lessons, you meet people, and you come out on the other end at a higher evolved level. So I am a so much more evolved, confident Black woman compared to what I used to be. And I mentioned this before, but I went back to a toxic job recently and I did a training there. And when I walked through those doors and I was like, thank you, God, for getting me out of this place. Thank you, God. Okay. To be able to go back and to go train at the toxic job, I was like, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for delivering me. Okay. So we're about to wind down. Love Harriet Tubman. It wasn't for her, none of us would be here. So true. So true. So true. Sisters, you deserve emotional and mental wellness. Yes. Speaking of entrepreneurship, I found that the quickest way to peace is to work for and with other Black women. Trying to be understood by people committed to misunderstanding me is a no from me. I hear you, girl. I hear you. I just registered, excited. Yes, fabulous, fabulous. So get your ticket before March 31st, okay? So everyone, thank you again for watching. Get your ticket to come to the Job Liberation Virtual Summit before March 31st so you don't miss early bird pricing. And again, to my Harriets, Colette Elizabeth and Marissa Price, I'm so thankful for both of you. I'm so blessed to know you. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. Give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with at least 2 other Black women. Also, subscribe to my channel. So subscribe to all of our channels, okay? And the link to register for the summit is in the description section and it's also on the screen. Okay, everyone, I will see you later. Take care.
Thank
Bye.
you.